Hey, Mama. Welcome back to the Mom Walk Collective podcast. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Ari, and we are two moms just trying to navigate through motherhood. But today we are three.
Whoop, whoop. We seriously are so excited for today's guest. We actually met her at a walk. She is local to Orange County, born and raised.
Queen of Orange County.
Literally, she's the queen of Orange County. And like, what's even so funny is my mom, Sydney, I don't think I've ever told you this, but my mom will like comment on Havana and will be like, oh, did you see the picture that she posted? Like, those sunnies. Anywho, all that being said, I want to introduce you guys to our good friend, Sydney. Sydney, can you say hello? Tell us a little bit about you. Introduce who Havana is. Give us the whole little rundown.
I'm Sydney. I live in Newport. I grew up in the area, like different spots of Orange County. I'm married. I have a little dog, Lola, who's the love of my life. And then I have Havana, my now 1-year-old as of last week. And I'm a lash artist, which is kind of funny because people are always like, what? What's that? But most girls in Orange County actually know what a lash artist is. So
I do.
Very much so.
Very familiar.
Also, we have to first, before we dive in, I need to comment real fast on the parties that Sydney throws. Okay. One thing, I am not from Southern California. And the first time Sydney hosted a play date, Sydney got it catered. And that was the most Orange County thing I had experienced in a long time.
Amazing.
And it was the best thing ever. She had little mini burritos. She had like snacks and everything for all the kids. And it just shows like she's one of the best hosts possible. Like she is just such a fun person to be around, but she takes care of everyone around her so much. And she just likes to have a good time, which brings me to her daughter's first birthday. So you just have to give us a little bit of a glimpse into Havana's first birthday, because that was one of the most epic first birthday parties I've ever been to.
Thank you. I was very excited. I was like, we need to do a wild one. And then I was like Pinteresting up a storm. It went from like, first it was like, oh, I'm going to do like giant, like groovy, whatever. And then it went to, no, we're going to do disco. Then it went to, no, we're going to do disco cowboy. Then I was like, we need a petting zoo with ponies. And then I called the place and I was like, can you guys just like keep the chickens? We don't need chickens. And they're like, it's a package deal. I was like, okay, we can have chickens.
It was the best birthday party I'd ever been to. Jamie and I are like, this is probably more than our weddings. Like,
I didn't have a wedding like that. So like, that's why I wanted to do something like this.
You went hard, and it was amazing. The twins and Lincoln all got to ride a pony for the first time. I'm like, my little pony.
It was so cute to see all the kids like have little pony videos.
Oh my gosh, it was so cute.
Incredible.
And we also just have to laugh. You had this like photo booth set up, and all of us moms, this I thought was the funniest part of the whole party. You had these like bedazzled cowboy hats for people to use for the photos, and Ari and the other moms that had shown up before me thought that they were to take, so they were like marching around the party in these hats the whole time. And then I guess you casually said something to them.
No, Ari asked. She was like,
no, I asked. I was like, I'm just going to double check before I just take this cool cowboy hat home. Cause I was like planning my Halloween costume with it. Like, yes. I was like, wow. Like we just felt so cool. We were like, oh, this is sick. Like, I mean, guys, she went above and beyond. She had branded chips.
Oh, that was
branded
so cute.
Water bottles. Everything was on theme. Havana's outfit. Lear, your mom's boyfriend, did like all the backdrops, which like, hello, you guys, if you guys are local to Orange County, they're starting a business, and
we're like, we little plug.
Oh,
plug. I mean, they will crush whatever theme you throw at them, because that was incredible. He made like a barn door background. Like, what?
Yeah,
so we're gonna Pinterest plug to like photos is like perfect.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
It.
Yeah. we're going to plug all of Sydney's socials so you guys can actually go look at this. She's just also a glam mama. Like, I know you like, she's just a woman of excellence. And so you just, if you want any inspo on having a little girl who just is all about glitz and glam, like, Sydney's your girl, because she crushes it to a T, finds the best stuff. Her daughter is just like a chiller who rocks it. So we'll plug all of Sydney's social so you guys can go look and see what we're talking about. But we're excited to get into your story.
Yeah. So, to take a deep dive off of the fun birthday parties, we know because you recently posted that you just got cleared from the brain tumor that they found for you. And we want to hear, because when we were talking previously, it was affecting a lot in your life. So can you kind of give us a background of how did you guys find it? What made you question if something was wrong? And then we're going to jump into how that affected you getting pregnant with Havana.
Okay, yeah. So like when I look back at like where it started, it was actually my dermatologist that she was like, I had like cystic acne was kind of where it started. And then it was like, my face kind of broke out of nowhere. And then I was having just like weird symptoms. And she was like, I think you have PCOS. And I was like, okay, what is that? And then I started kind of like looking into it. But I also had like migraines, and I was also like starting to not get a period. And so it was all these different factors. So then I was like, okay, so I started seeing like a neurologist, an endocrinologist, like all these things. And I'm like 17, 18 years old, not really caring / or like wanting to figure it out. But my mom was like, no, like that's, you do need to figure it out. And so then when I saw like a neurologist, they did like a MRI, and then they were like, oh, you have like a pituitary gland, like benign tumor. And I was like, okay, like that's weird. I don't know what that is. But then when I didn't have like periods at all, that's what was kind of more concerning, because you need those just to live a normal life. Like at the time I was like, oh, cool, I can't get pregnant, whatever, like I'm 18. But then when they were like, no, you really can never get pregnant. And I was like, oh, like I want to get pregnant. Like once they told me you can't, then I was like, no, I will have a baby.
Yeah.
And so then like that was like, I'm 28 now. That was like 10 years ago that I was like told X, Y, and Z. And then they were like, okay, let's put you on this medication, that medication. And things just didn't help or work. And it was kind of like silly stuff, because like one of them was like Lexapro. They're like, oh, this will help you with your migraines. But I didn't really see how that could help with like pituitary issues. And then I saw an endocrinologist, and then they were like, oh, let's do metformin, which is like, I don't know if you guys ever hear about that, but it's pretty like every time there's PCOS or something hormonal in a woman, they're like, nope, metformin, that's what you need. It'll help you. And then that would make me like vomit, sick. And they're like, I've tried every form. There's like different like time release, whatever, always make me sick. And so then they would try other medicines too, but it always make me sick. Or like if they did it with something else, I don't know. I was also young, so like trying different things, I was kind of like maybe not the best at taking something. So for years I kind of stopped doing anything, because I was like, I'm over it, like it's annoying. And then during that time of taking Lexapro, it kind of like makes you not care. At least that was like my experience. So like I was just kind of like, whatever, like I don't care. And then I kind of realized like a year later, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've gained like 60 to 80 pounds. And so then I was really just like, I'm done with medicine. I'm super annoyed. So I just like stopped taking anything. But then I was like, whoa, I'm a lot bigger than I was. Especially being like 18 years old. And I'm like, why am I like a lot bigger than all my other friends? And then I don't know, probably like 5 years later, I'm still like gaining weight, like kind of upset because I think I went 8 years without having a period. And that to me was like, yeah. And I was like, this is weird.
Wait, during this time, were you thinking like, well, okay, this could be TMI, so don't like you feel like you have to answer it. But were you like sexually active during that time? And like, did you ever think of like, oh, I just know I can't get pregnant, so it's kind of whatever? Because like, those are like the young years. Did you go off to college, or did you go to cosmetology school? Like, what was lifestyle that kind of like made you think like, oh,
I've been with Derek for like that whole time. So when, we've been together like 8 years. So then he knew that I'm not. So it was kind of like we weren't ever trying. Like it was. I think I heard you say like pull and pray, and I was like, yes. So that's our method. And but like at the same time, like it was kind of like, okay, I'm not like, I don't know. It was like pull and pray, but also like I don't even think I could because like I know I'm not ovulating. I know I'm not any of this. But yeah, I guess like in the back of my head, I was like, okay, we're fine. So it wasn't like a worry or a fear or anything because I was like, because I knew like doctors had like literally told me like, yeah, you can't get pregnant. Like if you don't have a period, you can't ovulate and you can't like accidentally like whatever. So I was kind of like, okay, like we weren't like.
And they weren't trying to find a solution for you for this? Like,
so
what was their solution for you not having a period for 8 years?
So they were just like, okay, so I didn't always go to like an endocrinologist. Like I went a couple times throughout my 20s, and then it was kind of like every time I'd go, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm like, he'd be like, oh, take metformin. I'm like, I've already tried it like 3 times. And it's like, oh, like, let's check you for this. Let's do more blood tests. Let's do more this. Okay, let's do another scan of blah, blah, blah. And I was just kind of defeated. I was like, okay, like you can't help me. Like I'm confused. And then I do remember the endocrinologist that I used to see. He had a really evil like front desk lady, and she was like 100 years old. And I swear she still works there probably, but she like wouldn't, she'd be like, oh, we haven't seen you in 6 months. You're no longer a client. And I was like, okay.
What?
Yeah, it was really bizarre. So like, there was just a bunch of stuff that I just was like, I'm really frustrated. I don't want to go. They're not trying to help me. And then I was like, okay. So I just kind of gave up from like, I think there was like from like 18, I tried a little bit, then I gave up. Then around 22, I tried a little bit, then I gave up. And then not until literally like my insurance, losing it when you're 26, learned that. So that was
literally.
Really sad. So I had like 2 months left. I'm like, I'm on dad's insurance. I need to figure this out. And so then I saw like a really good specialist, Felice Gersh. I always butcher her name, but she's in Irvine. So she's like a women's specialist. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go try this like one last time and really see. And then she did like a full blown panel on like everything, like asked, it was so expensive, but like she asked for like blood, I don't know, blood tests galore. And then I did all that. And then she was like, oh, great. And she was the first person that ever like, I like cried. Like she sat me down. She's like, we're going to figure this out. Where like everybody else I've seen before was like, we'll try things. And I'm like, okay, thanks. Lola.
We're 1,000% keeping this in.
We're fine. So Lola doesn't like that I'm not giving her attention, and she knocked that over, and that's my dog.
I love that her name's Lola because my mom's grandma name is Lola. So it's like, Lola.
I know, and I'm always talking about her too. I'm like, oh, sorry. I totally forgot.
Wait, give her a little camera. She can have a little moment on camera.
A little cameo.
Lola, come here. Come here.
If you guys don't know and are just listening to this, we stream. This will go on YouTube, so you can see the visual copy, and then this you can also see on Spotify. You can see the video. So if you're on car mode, turn it off car mode and say hello to Lola.
Lola just turned 3, right?
She turned 3 last Wednesday.
And the OC queen, she threw a little birthday. Where'd she go? Tommy Bahamas?
She went to Tommy Bahamas. She got a side of chicken. Oh,
she's a bougie girl.
What are you doing? Yeah, we did actually throw her first birthday too. I'll have to send you guys the photos. And there were other dogs invited, and it was all pink.
Of course.
I would expect nothing less.
Literally. If you didn't, I would be a little concerned.
Yeah.
Hi, Lola.
I'd be like, throw her another one.
She's so cute. Okay. Okay, I think we last left off and you were saying that you finally found a doctor that was actually a human being and cared about you as a human being and was like, I want to help you get better.
Yeah. And I was like shocked. And it now that, I mean, not that it's like men don't care, but I realized like both my last 2 endocrinologists, her and then my most recent one, have cared a lot more and been like, no, we're going to find a solution. Where like, I realized a lot of my other doctors, one actually was a woman before too when I was younger, but I don't know. And also I think things have come a long way in the last 10 years, because 10 years ago, no one was like really knew what PCOS was, where now it's like 1 in 4 or 1 in 3 or something like that. And there's a lot more options like for that. Or there's like, I did have a girl, I guess I should have mentioned this, her thing is like PCOS nutritionist or something, and I used to meet and go to her in her office in Newport, I think it was, and she explained a lot of like the way you can eat or like exercise or different stuff that for people who have PCOS. And that was helpful because like a lot of times like doctors and even endocrinologists would be like, oh, well, like, are you eating cookies and candy? Can you stop that? And I'm like, no, I don't eat cookies and candy. Like, thank you. And like, I mean, I'm not saying I've never had that, but like, that's not my issue. I'm not just sitting at home eating cookies and candy. And then like, oh, that's why I'm just bigger and can't have like a period because I'm just eating cookies. Yep. Thank you for solving all my problems.
Yeah.
But,
thanks for belittling me.
Yeah. But then,
a quick question on timeline. So did you get diagnosed or did you get Lexapro when you were 18?
Yes.
Okay, so you had been on it the entire time, and then
just 18, like a year.
Oh, just 18.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when did you find out that it was the pituitary gland, like a tumor on the pituitary gland? Was it with this endocrinologist that we're talking about?
So at like 17, I found that out, and then that same doctor who found that out was like, oh, you have migraines, let's give you Lexapro. And then I didn't know that would cause me to gain like a bunch of weight, because that is a huge side effect. And then I think also the like kind of that switch that gets turned off of like, you don't really care. So I was just kind of like, okay, whatever, I'm just gaining weight.
So they found the tumor, but then didn't realize this could be actually leading to all of these issues. Because when we started this call, sorry, I want to make sure that everybody hears it. Like you described it. I did go to school for this, but it's been a long time. So the tumor stops prolactin, correct? And it basically puts you in menopause.
It creates like a lot of prolactin.
Oh, creates a lot of prolactin.
Yeah.
Okay. And then because of having like the increase of prolactin, it made it impossible for you to have babies?
So basically it was like my body thought I was in menopause at like 18. It was like that, because the levels that I was at were like in the hundreds, and a normal girl is 25 or lower.
Which is seriously so crazy. Oh, Ari, sorry. It looked like you had a follow-up, but I have something to say once you go, Ari.
Well, so my question is like, was the tumor large enough for them to say like, why wouldn't they offer surgery? Is essentially
so it wasn't large enough for that, and it wasn't pressing on anything. So what's crazy is the medicine that I've taken now, like it almost feels ridiculous that it was that easy to get rid of it, because it was like, so it's called cabergoline. I always butcher the name. They don't like to give it, but what they give in doses, they claim it's not that high because it's not good for your heart. But like just doing that, like most recently, they're like, oh, you only did it for a couple months, great, it's gone. And I'm like,
no,
I swear. And I'm like, why didn't we do that 10 years ago? And then when I like looked through my stuff, I did take, and I did know I had taken it before, but they gave it to me with metformin. And so metformin made me throw up. So I'm taking this pill, throwing it up. And so it never got to like work. And so then when these like the lady Felice Gersh, she's like a women's specialist. She was the one that was first prescribed that to me. I guess second prescribed that to me most recently. So she prescribed that when I was 26. And then and she did like a bunch of tests. Like she was like, also had to have my heart monitored and stuff to like, she's like, we don't want to give it to you if it's gonna like cause something to go bad with your heart. And then when she gave that to me, a month later I got a period after like not having and I was like, oh well. And then me being lazy, didn't get insurance, so I took that 1 month was like, oh great, like, you know what, maybe let's try getting pregnant. And 4 months later I was pregnant, or I guess 5 months later I was pregnant. And so then I was like, oh my god, this is incredible. Like only that, like taking that medication for like a month, was able to get my periods back on track. And then I had to re-deal with it after I had her, because I never fully shrunk it. I just like, I guess I band-aid it. So
yeah, you temporarily had like a quick fix.
Yeah, where like those levels came down, but because it was still there, because Because actually when you're pregnant, it's in like the 200s, your prolactin. So it was fine that like if mine was over functioning or whatever. So it's like it was okay to function that way pregnant, but it's then like afterwards
all these little puzzle pieces. Do you have a journal of like tracking everything that you were doing, like, and that's how you've been able to put the pieces together and say, oh yeah, I took this before?
So my mom made a binder of like everything because
so smart.
That's what's so frustrating. Like you go to a doctor and they're like, well, what have you done? And I'm like I had to do this 2 months ago, and I was like started to cry, and I was like, because she was like, oh, I need the fast version. I'm like, I don't.
That's like no.
I was like, sorry,
8 years isn't fast.
Yeah. And she's like, well, why did nobody figure this out before? And I'm like, I've tried like a million things. I don't know. And then my mom had a binder of just like all my medications. So then now I have some of the medications kind of like memorized because like I've had to explain it to a couple different doctors and stuff. But the Felice Gersh lady was the one that had like a big chart of like all my blood tests. So like I went through that. Actually, after I had the baby, I went to like my normal like family doctor, and I brought that to her, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck this means, but like I need this, and this is why. And so then she was able to like do a blood test to see my prolactin levels, and she prescribed me the cogaberline, even though she's like, I don't do this really, but you have to go see an endo. So like in that time that I took that was enough time while I was waiting to go see an endocrinologist, because they take a while to get in. Yeah. Like you can't just like go like, oh, can I come? And they're like, yeah, next year. And you're like, oh,
literally,
I need you this year.
See, this is what mind boggles me about the healthcare system of the US. Like, this is like one of my passions. Like, I really wish that we could like streamline this, and it's a very tangled mess. So that's why I've not approached
a
ton. But there's other countries. I think it's why do I think it's like Scandinavia? I forget. Somewhere I'll figure that out, and maybe we'll put in the show notes. But they literally have like an electronic file of all of your health records, all of like your important documents that then your family can access. So like say, you know, my mom is, I don't want to say that. Say my grandpa is aging or something, then we can get like access to all of his records to then be their advocate. Mm-hmm. But like it's all stored in one spot rather than like you having to bring a binder somewhere and like literally you having to be your own advocate. Maybe you're on Lexapro and you're like in this I don't care mode, and you don't know how to advocate for yourself. That I just feel like as a professional doctor, sorry if we have any doctors on the phone.
I'm like cracking up, someone listening in their car being like, who does this chick think she is? But you're saying what we're all thinking is like
I understand we need to take responsibility for our health, but there are certain things that are beyond like our brain capacity that people have gone to school for, that we should be taking a holistic picture of what's going on. Like it shouldn't have taken you 8 years to solve this issue.
I feel like not until I was like, all right, I want to get this completely figured out, and I need to like, I kind of had to like bully people a little bit to being like, no, we're doing this. Cause like, they will just be like, all right, see you next time. And you're like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, we're done? Like, that's what happened a bunch. And it's like, you have to bully them into getting results. We're not, honestly now, like I've had a lot easier of a time, because I think also I'm able to explain to them like, hey, this medicine works. This is what's really high, and this is like my past stuff. But like even having to explain to a doctor, I told her like 5 times. I was like, I am not a doctor. I don't know what I'm explaining, and if I'm explaining it correctly. And then like luckily I had those files, and she got like really excited, and she was like, oh cool, like now I understand like what's going on. But I'm like if like most people I feel like wouldn't have just like a file. Like I have it on my phone. Like
they wouldn't have the file, and they wouldn't have, sometimes they don't know that they can speak up to an authority figure.
Yeah. Oh, I think about that all the time because I'm crazy, and I call the office all the time. Like I'm like I like actually started my period late, and I was like, guys, it's happening again. The levels are up. Come on, I need the medicine. And she's on vacation. And I'm like, guys, she's on vacation. Can you get a hold of her? Oh, there's another doctor there. Great. Like let her know I need the medicine. And then I started my period like 2 days after that phone call. And I'm like, I have to go next week and be like, oh no, we're good.
Oh, see, my brain went to think like, oh, is Sydney announcing there's baby number 2?
No. I was scared. I was like, wow, like I've been really careful. Like I didn't think it was time. But like, I don't know. I remembered how being pregnant felt. And like, that wasn't it. Like I had like the last 2 weeks, I was like getting cystic acne. So I was like, no, this is not that. Like I have a giant, like under the skin pimple that I was like, that's the only thing that's pregnant is like my face.
It's my forehead.
Yeah. So like that's how I knew. I'm like, this isn't baby number 2. This is like acne.
Jamie, I cut you off, so you take the
I mean, I don't remember what that past thought was, but the current thought I have right now, which we're just going to move on with, is even to like the struggle of like, let's fix symptoms instead of finding the solution, like finding the deep rooted problem. And I know we talked before the call, but kind of in just like, and you mentioned it a little of them saying like, oh, you know, you've gained weight because of your eating habits and you've done this and that. And I've had poor experiences with doctors before in like different circumstances. And this isn't related to the extent of something that you experienced, but I was really sick after I had married Charlie. I had lost 40 pounds. I couldn't eat anything. Like literally nothing sounded good, and would to so many different doctors, got like endoscopies, colonoscopies, like everything. And they would just tell me like, yeah, like, we don't know what's wrong. Literally, we don't know what's wrong. Like you must, like they were like, you have celiac disease and like just go gluten-free, or you can't do dairy anymore. It like whatever. I got thrown like all of the like band-aid solutions to what was going on. And 2, at the time I was still on my parents' insurance, which we loved. And so I was only going to resources that were covered with my insurance because I'm like, I don't have this money to go pay. Like, you know, office visits are, if you're going to see someone like you described, who's your most recent doctor, who's going to do the whole workup and the panel of everything, you're looking at hundreds and hundreds of dollars, which the average person just is risking, hoping that this person's going to find the solution. And I ended up going and seeing, it was like literally by the grace of God, there is a naturopath doctor who also did Western medicine. So she did Eastern and Western medicine. So she ran it through insurance. So my office visits were $10. And then everything that she did, she would run through whatever system to get it covered by insurance. And it was phenomenal. But she ended up finding out I had mono and a parasite. And so my body couldn't like fight the parasite because I had no immune system. And so she spent like the similar experience of you talking about, like you were crying because someone actually was advocating for you of like, we're not just going to like put a Band-Aid on it and say like, here you go. But she's like, we're going to do it all and figure out. And like, it wasn't an easy journey. Like, I think it was like what I've experienced with past doctors is like, they would just want to give one medicine, kind of like what you're talking about of like, here, Band-Aid, and you're going to feel better in a week. You're going to feel better in 2 weeks. You're going to feel better in a month or whatever. This doctor was really clear with me. And she was like, in order to solve the solution, it's going to be a few months process. And so I know you kind of did a bunch of things before Havana because no one was actually helping you. And so you ended up finding a solution to really help you then be able to also get pregnant. Can you share a little bit about that? What research you did to decide that decision, how it like was so good for you, and how like where you're at now with it as well?
Okay, yeah, I did forget to mention that part. That definitely helped. So I had the gastric sleeve surgery. I did that 2020. I actually did it like January 2nd. So it was kind of funny. Like it was my first January 1st as like an adult, not drinking. And I was like, okay, I was like, wow, this is great. But I did the sleeve surgery because I was like, really overweight. Like, I think my highest was like 250, and I've never shared that, so it's kind of crazy. But I did that because I had actually looked into it for years, and then crazy one day I met a girl doing her lashes, and as I'm doing her lashes, she broke down sobbing and just was like, I just had this surgery, blah blah, because we were like just talking and relating about similar like health issues. And I was like, oh my god, that's crazy. I'm like thinking about it, and I want to go to this office. And she's like, I worked there. And I was like, what? That's insane. It was really insane, and we're still friends. And I was like, you work there? And she was like, yeah, I work there. And I was like, and she's like, I just did it. He's my doctor, but I'm also one of like the like nurses that do the surgery. And so then I literally like booked it like the next month. Like I was like, all right, we're doing it, planned it. And because I like one of the endocrinologists was like, honestly, like you can do that because I don't know what else to like give you. And like most people don't opt to do that because it's expensive, but it kind of does like, now people are talking about how like gut health and hormones and stuff are related. And like, I'm really bad at explaining it, but the best I could do is like, your stomach is like trying to communicate with your hormones and stuff. And kind of by getting rid of most of it, because that's what the sleeve surgery does. It cuts out most of your stomach. It's like, one, you'll lose weight. So that will help. And then two, your stomach can't like sit there and be like, we're starving. Because like that's what it was doing. And so anything I ate, it was just holding on to, because it was not understanding that like we're full, we ate. Like even if I wasn't, because I didn't eat a lot, but it's like my body thought, oh, I'm starving. So then it just held on
to
survival.
Yeah. And I mean, even that doctor, he's great, love him, but like no bedside manner. And he'd be like, oh, well, you're going to be able to not eat cookies after this? I'm like, why is everyone convinced I just eat cookies? Like, I'm so confused. So I did that. It was amazing. It definitely like changed my life. And I lost like at least 70 pounds after that. And then I guess I waited 2 years. Like, about, I think it was exactly a year and a half. Sorry. I waited a year before I saw the specialist, because I was like, I'm technically supposed to possibly get my period back now that it's been a year later. But then when I didn't, I was like, okay, I'll go see that lady, like Felice Gersh. And then that's when she was able to give me that medicine, because my body was in like a place where that could work. So it's like all my health, like all the other levels and stuff that were probably high, like I'm the worst at like cholesterol, this, that, whatever. Like it's all bad that just goes, like blood pressure, everything that goes along with like being overweight. And then, so when I was able to then be like, okay, I'm in like optimal health, like still better, I guess, than I was, then it was able to like work. Where like maybe before too, as much as I was like throwing up and stuff, like maybe it still wouldn't have worked because of my weight, but I'm not fully positive, because it's like kind of what if, but if I'm doing that, then it's all like, what if I didn't take the Lexapro and gain all this weight that kept making it? So there's so many what ifs, but I really do feel like it just kept going like further and further. And so I felt like this leave was my only option to like kind of restart. And honestly, I'm really glad I did it. It's hard to tell people that, because it's like, we're so young. Like, why do we have like that stuff? I don't know, a lot of like older people do. But
we had my pelvic floor therapist on. We talked about prolapse, so it's all good. There's like tons of things that happen when we are younger that I'm glad you're sharing, because like somebody's gonna feel like they're not alone. They're gonna know like that is like that's a normal route for somebody to take under those scenarios, under that circumstance. And so, I'm glad that you're sharing it. I'm glad that like you're willing to be vulnerable about it too, and share your weight like around that, because that's like a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I got real heavy when I was pregnant, guys. That number it's above 250. Let's just say that.
It was crazy being pregnant, because my hormones were like probably the most normal it's ever been, and I lost weight pregnant. Like, and I know that's not everyone's normal, but, and also when you have the sleeve, because your stomach is smaller, like the pouch itself, it does a lot of times when you're pregnant, like you can't, because there's like only so much placement for food, and when the baby and it presses and whatnot. But I feel like my hormones and everything, like that was the first time I was like, oh wow, like my body was acting normal because the first time my hormones have been like normal, which was weird.
Wow.
And
I
then
was gonna
after
ask,
I gained weight, and I was like, what? That's not fair.
crazy. I was gonna ask, what was pregnancy like for you? So like, you take the pill, it brings back your period. 4 months later, you get pregnant. Do you have a good pregnancy? Is it like, were you nervous because of everything? Or like, what was all the feelings and emotions behind pregnancy?
First of all, I like knew instantly, like literally like less than a week later, I was like, something's going on. Like, I was weird. I feel like I got used to like kind of being in tune with like my body, that I was like, something's up. And then I was like, either I need to take that medicine again, or like figure out how to get it because maybe my period's going away, or I'm pregnant. And it was actually like the week of my birthday. So I'm like, do I drink? Do I not drink? I don't know. Can I go out? Can I not go out? Can I have sushi? So I went crazy, ate sushi all week long. At the end of the week, took a pregnancy test. I'm like, I'm pregnant. And I was like, okay, well, now that I know I won't have sushi, but I was good.
You're so funny.
Until like, what is it when you start to get like nauseous and stuff? Then once
Like
I could get
week
nauseous.
6, 7.
Yeah. So like once I could, then I did. So every morning I threw up like the whole time, like all the way through.
Wow.
And it was so like normal. Like I'd be like, I'd have Lola's poop bags in my car because I'd be like, those are great. Like we need to sell those as pregnancy bags because like nothing comes out of them. And it was just so normal. I learned to drive and be like, ugh, like it was bad. But I was like so happy and so excited that I was like, I don't care. And like,
Aww.
I lived off Uncrustables and protein shakes, and
how funny.
those stayed down. So
Jamie lived on what, sour worms and Del Taco fries?
Yeah, I was so sick too all pregnancy, and like at least for 20 weeks, all I ate was like Del Taco and sour gummy worms.
I love it.
And I was like, great, they stay down. It's awesome. And then
something
sour
in the worms.
apples. Yeah, honestly, something in the worms. Then like Granny Smith apples, because I was like, maybe I should like find a healthier solution than just eating gummy worms. So like Granny Smith apples were like close. I literally would have one like every morning. But that's so cool to hear that like it was like a joy of like, and that's even one, like if you're a mom listening to this and you're pregnant and someone sent you this, and having signs after maybe you had a loss, maybe you had a miscarriage, or maybe you had other health issues before, or whatever it may be, when you have the signs of pregnancy, it is exciting. It means the baby's healthy, the baby's growing, your body's like doing what it knows how to do. Even if it sucks, it is exciting because, yeah, you're creating a human. I want to know, I can't imagine that you waited to figure out the gender, but how did you, yeah, I'm like, no way, Jose. How did you come up with Havana?
Okay, so my name is Sydney, Australia. Havana, also a city. And then everyone's always like, are you Cuban? I'm like, no. I'm like, but I'm not Australian either. And then everyone's like, okay. And I'm like, okay. So baby number 2 has to be a city name as well, hopefully. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I was like, I need a city name. And then this is actually when I was younger, I loved Javiana sandals. And I was like, oh, I wish I could name a baby Javiana. Like, I love that. But like, it's sandals. So Havana was fit into those two. Javiana sandals and a city name.
I love it.
Did you do a gender reveal party?
No, because I wasn't patient and then everyone was mad. I actually got the early test and I set up my whole kitchen to like suction cup, needle, stab myself, draw the blood out, mailed it off. And Derek was like, please don't do that. And so I did it when he was at work. And then I got the email that it was a girl and I was like, yeah, it's a girl. And then I texted my whole family and everyone was really mad because they were like, we want to do a gender reveal. And I was like, oh. And then my dad was mad because he was like, I was going to plan it. And then my mom was mad because she's like, my parents weren't together. But my mom was like, why does he think he gets to plan it? I'm planning it. And I was like, well, no one's planning it. It's a girl. And they're like so mad. I was like, sorry.
Queen of Orange County put her foot down.
I love it. But this was all okay, so you got pregnant. Well, I guess similar to our babies and stuff like that, because I'm like, you had COVID, or not you weren't sick, but like we had the pandemic, and then you got married. I know doesn't have to do with like pregnancy and stuff like that, but you guys got married, decided to get married during the pandemic.
So we got
and
engaged and then her baby shower, I did a surprise baby shower wedding.
Wait, really? I don't know this
What?
story. Wait, share it. I don't know
this with us.
Okay, so obviously we went to her first birthday, so like, like in my house, it's like, or my family, it's like parties extraordinaire, and it's a lot of pressure. And like, as much as I like it, I hate it. And I just knew my parents were going to be like, no, we're going big, even though they're like, yeah, we can go small. And so like originally the 2 weeks, or like once I knew I was pregnant, my dad's like, okay, let's fly to Vegas and plan your wedding. Cause I was going to get married at the Cosmopolitan in Vegas, do chandelier room, like bar or whatever. And I was like, that'll be my small wedding. But then it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And then I was like, okay, like I knew I was pregnant, so I couldn't do that. So I was like, okay, sorry, Dad. So I kept being like, Dad, let's go to breakfast. And he's like, no, we're going to Vegas. And I was like, no, let's go to breakfast. And then I forced him to breakfast, and then I told him, and he's like, oh, that's why we can't go to Vegas. So then the whole pregnancy's happening, and my mom's like, don't you want to get married before? And I was like, well, like, cat's out of the bag. Like, I've been with Derek for 8 years, like, not a virgin. But okay. And then like when the baby shower was about to happen, my parents went so extreme. They like literally did it at the Balboa Bay Club. Like they're like, we're having the ballroom and we're doing this and that and that. And I was like, oh my God, Derek, like they're never going to let us like have a small wedding ever. Like it's just not going to happen. So I was like, let me see how they feel about like a surprise wedding, baby shower thing. And then I thought they were going to be like, that's tacky. And they were like, we love it. And I was like, okay. They love surprises. So they were like, yes. So then nobody knew. And then I made everyone come wearing neutral tones, and everyone was really mad at me for that. But then everyone looked really good because they looked like kind of wedding ready. So then
on theme.
Yeah. And everyone was like, can I wear this? Can I wear that? And I was like, no, you could wear one color, no patterns. Dear God, no floral, no polka dots, nothing. And then all the photos looked really amazing. And
I need to see photos. Can you like post them?
Yeah.
Wait,
I think they are, but awesome. What?
Were you like, by the way, welcome to our wedding? Or like, how did it go down?
So we had like a little area roped off where like you couldn't go past a certain point, and it was like the cocktail hour, even though it's like in the morning. And then when my dad like made a speech like, okay, like after like 45 minutes of just like drinks and taking pictures and stuff like that, because we had like backdrops and stuff. And then he was like, okay, thanks so much for like coming, blah 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 blah, like we're so excited to celebrate. And then he's like, also like a little surprise for you guys, like Sydney and Derek are about to get married. And everyone's like, we have all the photos, and everyone's like, oh, and crying, and like it's really cute and funny. And then they like made everyone go on the patio, and then I kind of like awkwardly went into the middle room and then walked through like the 2 doors, because I was like, can we make this as quick as possible, because I was so nervous. And then it was cute because my father-in-law he got like, I don't know what it's like, ordained or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so he was the one that married us, so it's not like there was some like who's that guy in the suit over there that's just like awkwardly here, because everyone knew everyone. So like then his dad married us, and then we did that literally in like the first 5-10 minutes. And then it was like, okay, now we're having brunch. And then everyone sat down and we had brunch, and everyone was like, that was crazy. And I was like 8 or 9 months pregnant. I think I was 8 months pregnant.
Wait, that is so fun. That is like deep. So epic.
I'm going in.
That is so cool.
I got like a dress made that was like, literally it was like maternity wedding dress, and where this one lady like makes these like really cool like tulle but like body cinching, so I looked like small from certain angles, but then other angles you're like, whoa, she's pregnant. It was cool.
That's so fun.
That one?
Yes.
So cute.
I love it.
And you can see Lola was a bridesmaid.
What?
I'm gonna deep dive now too. Wait, okay, let's we'll wrap this up for the listeners so then they can track on your story. You have a great pregnancy. You have Havana. Havana's a dream little baby. She is
giggles.
just
Yeah.
she is. She's just giggles and happy and like a queen like her mom.
Thank you.
But then you end up starting having symptoms again and bring us up to date till today.
Okay, so I have her. I'm like, this is great. Like, she's so chill. And then I'm trying to breastfeed. That's a whole learning thing that's fun in itself. And then 2 months go by, and I'm like, okay. Then I started to work like 3 weeks later. So it was like, okay, this is a lot. She wasn't really like loving the breast milk. Like, I could tell it was hurting her stomach. So I was like, okay, great. It's been 2 months. We tried. We did it. I'm stopping. And we stopped. And then at that 2 month point, like, I was like, okay, I have to be like really cautious of like my eating, my this, my that. And so I really was cautious. And then in that 2 months, I gained 30 pounds. And I wasn't like,
Wow.
and so I was going to a new doctor, like another new doctor, because I made our family doctor and we switched insurance and whatnot, which I'm actually really happy with, like, my doctors now. And I see her in the like 2 months later, and I'm like, oh my God, please, you have to like prescribe me this, because I know my levels have to be really high because I just gained 30 pounds. And I was so excited because when I had her, and like literally a week later, I was like, oh my God, this is the smallest I've been since like high school. Like, I was so excited.
Wow.
And then I'm like, great, cool, 30 more pounds. Like, cool, sick, like, amazing. And then she was like, okay, yeah, like, because I showed her, and then so she sent me to go do a blood test to show her like where my prolactin levels were, and they were high again. Like, they were elevated. Not quite in like, so like originally they were like in the hundreds. At this point it was at like 41, which isn't awful, but enough to make me not, I wasn't getting a period. And she was like, okay, like, let's see, like, if after 2 months of not breastfeeding, if you get a period. So those 2 months is like kind of that time where I gained the 30 pounds. And I was like, please, I have gained 30 pounds. Like, please prescribe this to me. Like, I'm not getting a period. And then luckily she like saw the numbers, saw the rapid weight gain, and was like, okay, great, I'll prescribe it to you. So then, like, literally right as soon as because it was about like 2-3 pounds a week, and that's like not normal. So then I was like, the second I took the medicine, I stopped gaining. And I was like, okay, I'm cool. Like, even if I stop gaining, like, I could start to try to like slowly lose whatever. But like, the gaining was like killing me, because I was like, I do not want to go backwards. And I don't eat. I've never eaten, like, I know I'm sure a lot of people say that. I don't eat the way to warrant like how much I've always gained. Like, I'll be the friend with all my friends that are like, oh, let's get burgers, fries, which is fine. Love it. Like, I'm not saying I don't ever eat that. But then I'll be like, let me get a side salad, grilled, like chicken, and like little dressing on the side, like all depressed. And then they're like, fine. And I'm like, oh, cool, I gained a pound. Like, it was just frustrating. So I was like, no, we're nipping it in the butt. So then she was like, okay, you have to go see an endocrinologist. I went and saw her. But luckily, that doctor had prescribed it to me. So I took it until October. And then now I've like been able to lose weight and keep the weight off, and I'm trying really hard, and I'm even working out more than like I did before. But up until 2 weeks ago, when I was like, it's happening again, and then I got my period last week. But it's still like so I did an MRI like a month ago. I guess it'd be like a month or two, or like in January, and that's where she will see like, okay, it's gone. Like, she compared it with the one 2 years ago.
Wow.
And she's saying it's gone, and I believe her, but at the same time, my levels are at like, I think 38 right now, and like, I'm gonna go do it again next week. But not until last week did it dawn on me, like, am I always gonna have to be like paranoid? You know, like, like, am I pregnant? Do I need to take this medicine? Is it this? Is it that? I mean, not that being pregnant's like a bad thing, but it's like that unknown. I hate constantly like looking over my shoulder, like, oh, what's happening?
Yeah. It's like, even though you now have a solution for like something that's coming your way, like, you're hyper aware of these things, which is great, because then you could nip it in the butt right away. But then also you could potentially think about it all the time. So.
Yeah. And that doctor, like, who was there because the other doctor's on vacation, was like, I can't just like prescribe that to you, because like it's like not good for your heart. And it's like kind of like, okay, yeah, I guess, like, sure, like I don't want to take something harmful, but I'm like nervous. But I don't know. I'll see my doctor next week, and so I'm just happy that it's technically gone. I think I'm just still like kind of like, is it? Like, are you sure? Like, I don't know. I kind of almost didn't believe it, but I'm excited, and I'm a lot healthier. My hormone levels are like a lot better, and it's just still like the unknown, I guess, of like, is it gone? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Were you ever one of those women who like super religious of tracking your cycle now because of just watching everything of like, okay, I know I have a 28-day cycle, or like, did you have to learn that really quickly because you're like, oh my gosh, I should have had my period? Or are you still like what is the feeling behind everything? Like, do you feel super hyper aware? Do you feel like it's exciting to track it? Do you feel like, what are the feelings behind it all?
So I feel like when I got my period again at like 26, about to be 27, I was like, oh my god, this is terrible. I forgot what this, like, I felt like I was like redoing puberty. Like, I'm like, oh my god, it hurts. Like, it was so sad. But I do remember it was Valentine's Day. So I was like, oh my god, how cute. And like, I was really excited because I was like, wow, like, I don't know. It was like weird because I was like, yay, like maybe I could have a baby. And then, yeah, I like track it now. But this, like, I don't know, that's like, I guess yes, I do track it, and I do, and it's like there are certain things that our body does now that like you're like, okay, I'm ovulating, where like I never noticed that before, where like now I'm like, oh, these are the symptoms that happen ovulating, or this is that. And now I like try to pay attention, and I also like, Jamie always makes fun of me because I'm like, she's like, you're planning 2 months ahead. Like, I literally like know a calendar by my mind. I'm like, oh, this happened last week on the 5th, or this, or whatever. Like, I don't know, I'm really good with like dates, and so like I always know like, okay, it's supposed to be the 18th or this or that. And like, I don't do it on an app or anything, but I think because I've only had like, it's like if you've only had a couple, you're like, okay, I remember it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sydney,
yeah,
I'm gonna have you start tracking my periods for me because
that's why I knew it was like, off. So I was like, oh my god.
Well, okay, I'm like, the fact that you talked about like when you got your period back, I haven't had a period in 2 years because I had 2 miscarriages, and then I was pregnant, and then I've still been breastfeeding. Not that that's a huge factor of getting your period back, but I legit, everyone says when you get your period back, it's super like, your first one back is really heavy. It's like you get all the stuff. Yeah.
Literally awful. I got acne. I was way too emotional, like literally crying every day. And my periods, mind you, before I got pregnant were like 3 days, and I was like totally fine, no cramps, nothing. Then it's literally, I can feel, sorry for the TMI, guys, just warning, I can feel the blood pouring out of my body. Yes. Like, I asked other moms this too. Like, are your periods, do you feel it? And they're like, yeah, I can feel it. And I'm like, it is a weird sensation when it's just like,
yeah. I do think after having babies, you're like more in tune with like every little thing that goes on.
Oh, yeah.
I want to get someone who, oh, sorry,
go for it, Jamie. No, go
well,
for it.
I was going to say, I want to interview someone who does this cycle hacking. And that's why I was like, even going to go interested or Sydney, you cycle hack, which is, I can't explain it. That's why I want to interview some, because I really don't know much about it. Besides the fact that like each phase of your period, since there's different, it's 4 phases, correct? Again, I could be totally wrong, and someone who knows this is listening.
Luteal.
Yeah. Someone name them. I don't know. I want to know because really, like, there's different foods that you can eat and different exercises you can do in each phase of your cycle that really supports your hormones. And I've just been, mainly TikTok targets me a ton, and I keep getting these girls of like cycle hacking, like I'm in this phase, and so I'm doing like boxing classes, but next week I'll be in this phase, so I'm just gonna do yoga and stretching. And she'll change her smoothies depending on what phase she's in too. And so, yeah, I was curious, do either of you guys cycle hack, or are with me and have no idea what it is and just am curious that those it girls.
I've pulled it up. Menstruation, follicular phase, ovulation, and luteal phase, in case anyone's wondering. And if a listener out there is a cycle hacker, hit us up because we want to interview you. The only time I've heard about it was when I did CrossFit and one of my friends was like, well, I was like, damn, like one day of my period, I can really lift a lot heavier and I can go really hard in my workouts. When you think like during your period, like you'd be like just chilling, like don't touch me. But she told me about this years ago, but I didn't know the extent of it. Like changed my smoothies.
Yes.
You're like, what's going in? I do know lashes are more sensitive when you're on your period.
Oh,
really?
Mm-hmm. Like people would like feel things more.
Oh, you know, your skin's really sensitive when you're on like a certain phase. So if you get your hoo-ha waxed,
yes,
that shit's painful.
I have heard that actually.
I like how Ari had to go, oh, you had to get your hoo-ha instead of just like saying like getting a Brazilian wax.
You guys, we're recording at 10:25 at night. Like, if you guys listened to our podcast with Melanie, what did she call it? She called it oh man, we're putting it up as a social clip to like build excitement over it because she called her vagina something very unique that I had never heard before. So anyways, Jamie, do you want to close us out?
Yeah. Well, I want to end with this. Sydney.
It's fine.
Sorry, I know some people were a Sydney gal. Could you, like, speaking to anyone who maybe is just trying to figure out their health, also is trying to conceive and wants a family, or is having health issues after conceiving, and like showing up as a present mom and also having, to figure out these things as well. If you could give anything to encourage them or just make them not feel as alone, like what was something you wish you heard through your whole journey?
I think I wish someone was like, hey, go do a full panel of blood work and ask for like everything and really just like break it down. Like I even think going through each one, looking at the results yourself and Googling like what's a normal thing or what, I don't know, just like really asking more questions and not accepting like, okay, see you next time. Like I do think really I Googled everything after like now. So I kind of understood it myself. So I do think like trying to be like, hey, I need a full panel. And then looking at the results and being like, okay, like why is this wrong or why is this off or what can I do? And then I do think like, for example, like the PCOS or whatever, like looking into holistic options for that too, like how you should eat, how you should whatever, because there are things out there that can help. I'm not saying it will fix it, but it can help. And I just think searching out different doctors, like I think all the time doctors are intimidating and they'll be like, oh, I don't know. And it's like, okay, then great. That's not the doctor for you. Go see someone else. Like, I think not until you find the person for you, like you're going to be okay. Because a lot of girls give up because they're like, oh, a doctor made me feel uncomfortable or couldn't figure it out. So I gave up. And that's what I did. So I think just keep trying and kind of write notes or Google things because I didn't know anything until like the last 2 years.
No, it's so good. It's so helpful. Put a binder together.
Yeah.
Too, look how it changed. Literally, Sydney, she's got a burn book that saved her life.
Burn book and medications.
But we just loved having you on. Can you plug your socials for us, please? Or just Instagram?
Like, find me on Pinterest.
Oh, wait, no, you should plug your lashes too.
Okay, my lashes is Lashed by Sydney. And Sydney is spelled Sydney. My Instagram is Sydney Lauren Brown. And Lola's Instagram is whatever Lola wants. And it's just WHTVR. And then Lola and wants are spelled normal. But
also plug the business that you guys are starting for the party planning.
Okay, I just made it.
Need to know.
OC Custom Backdrops. I was trying to remember because it was like really long. But yeah, we're trying to get a little, because he could literally make backdrops so quickly, and like every time I've ever been like, hey, this is my Pinterest inspo, he's like, okay, and it's like does it. So
and they're phenomenal.
Amazing.
literally.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now I'm going to come on for our cringy stuff. And so thank you all of those who are listening to this, but we want to just grow this podcast as much as we can and bring you guys as many resources as possible. So if you guys can share, like, subscribe, leave a comment, all the jazz, that would help us a ton. Oh no, literally sitting the like old YouTuber like the old like and subscribe. That just would help us. It's true, they still do. We do it, obviously. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I want to have mom conversations like this, and I'm going through things and I have no one to process with and I need community, that is literally what the Mom Walk Collective is all about, is to help women find their village, to help raise the next generation. We want you to show up as the best mom that you could be so you could show up for your kids. So if you are looking for a walk, go to themomwalkcollective.com. We have a walk finder, type in your zip code. If we don't have a walk near you, we do have an ambassador form for you or someone you know to become a host in your local city or area. Fill out an application and we'll get back to you at the first of every month. We're growing and expanding on average around 30 cities a month. So if we don't have a walk in your area this month, check back next month. We also are having an event if you're in Southern California, April 22nd at Freelance Coffee Project. We're having our first Mother's Market. So we're really, really excited. We're going to have a bunch of vendors there. They're going to be doing discounted product. There's sampling, and it's all companies to help simplify motherhood. So we have anything from formulas to diapers to jewelry to kids' books to different food vendors, a bunch of just fun stuff. So it should be a good time. Other than that, Ari, close us out.
Thank you so much, Sydney, for being on here. It was such a joy talking to you, even though we were talking about deep things. We loved it. So thank you. We love you, Mama. Have a good night or a good day, depending on what time you're listening. Bye.